We're very privileged to have our next speaker here. Alexie Glass-Kantor is the Executive Director at ArtSpace. ArtSpace is a public institution that funds artists, create exhibition, and funds art research. Could we please have a fantastic round of applause for Alexie?
I think I'm a little bit shorter. Look, it's it's not a great pleasure. It's a mixed set of feelings to have to stand in front of you today. And when I had the call yesterday to come and speak at this event, it still breaks my heart a little bit that this is happening at all. About 3 months ago, I was invited to attend a meeting with your Provost. It was a Chatham House rules meeting, which means we're not meant to speak of it out of closed doors. But I'm going to speak of it right now because I think the university has an accountability. At the beginning of today's talks, we heard quite a deal about our responsibility as custodians of the land on which we stand. And the university took on a responsibility when it became the custodians of this art school, which was established in the 1970s and moved to this facility in 92, to maintain, invest, strengthen and develop this facility to make it one of what it already was, which was one of the richest and most dynamic arts education facilities in the country. That was the responsibility. They agreed. They took it on. The Provost looked at me 3 months ago and said, "You're too late, Alexie. Arts education is over. You don't get it." I looked at him and I was like, "I don't get it." And he said, "You don't get it." He's like, "Enrollments are declining. It's over. No one wants the arts." And he told me that enrollments for undergraduate education in art schools across New South Wales had declined, and I'm on the academic board of the National Art School, and I was like, well, actually 14% increase in 2015 on undergraduate enrollments at National Art School. I don't think that is a decline, Provost. I don't believe an increase by 22% in undergraduates enrollments at the UNSW Art and Design School is a decline. Do not look at me and lie and say arts education is over in New South Wales, because it is not over. It is not even close to over. So, at ArtSpace, we're a government-funded contemporary art centre with an over 35-year history. We're visual people like you. Huge amount of our alumni, which I'll get to in a moment, come from SCA. When I was asked to speak this morning, we thought, where do we look to think about what to say today? And interestingly, I looked at the crest as well, but I looked alongside the crest at the motto of the university. And the motto of the university is Sedera Mens Idem Mutato, which is my very fucked up Latin for the stars change, but the mind stays the same. Let's think about that. That's the motto of this school. The stars change, but the mind stays the same. So when you change your mind, it still stays the same, University of Sydney. When you don't want to look after an art school that you committed to be the custodian of and you change your mind, that stays the same. When you commit to something, you have the opportunity to breach that commitment at your will. The stars change, but the mind changes will at well. So, this seemed curious to us because we think that the arts teach us that thoughts and perceptions are constantly shifting, growing and evolving. Why does the university think that it can just change its mind and then not consult on any level with staff, faculty or the sector about their accountability? You don't get to do that. Sydney University seems to believe that if something doesn't pay its way or doesn't pay the tax impinged by the university, then it is redundant. It believes that the arts, we believe, however, that this is so anachronistic as to be outright insulting. The arts invite a platform for change and transformation beyond financial gain. Where the university sees dollar signs in place of the stars it used to see, we see an actual institution, the Sydney College of the Arts, that is still leading at the forefront of arts education in New South Wales. SCA's mission says that it is responsive to the changing needs and developments of visual arts education and practice. Through its faculty, through its facilities, it delivers at the highest levels of art education. We believe that the mind should be ever expanding, and for the university to neglect the importance of arts in challenging the status quo undermines the value of Australian cultural production and is an insult to everybody who works in the sector in Australia. We We need to privilege the labour and the ideas of our times. We need to privilege inquiry, exploration, and indeed excellence, as it is demonstrated at SCA, and not be sidetracked by the trend of innovation and a neoliberal drive for profit. SCA and ArtSpace have been inexorably linked since the 1990s. We were both established in the 70s. We moved into our building, the Gunnery at Woolloomooloo, in 92, the same time that Callum Park was set up with the $19 million infrastructure investment, with a view that it would be a peak facility for arts education. We have this wonderful history of entanglements through collaboration, friendship and exchange. Over the past 25 years, a huge amount of SCA staff, artists, alumni, have participated in our programs and led the organisation, from Brad Buckley to Adam Getzi to Nicola Soudis, who was a former director, to Sally Breen, to Chris Fox, who was on our board. There's been a litany of people who have been involved in leading and shaping ArtSpace who come from SCA. And SCA is the place where people learn to lead in the arts in Australia. ArtSpace continues our affiliation with SCA through our studio program. We have 11 studios. We made 7 studios free for artists for 1-year residencies 2 years ago. We get 150 applications a year for those 7 studios. In the past 2 years, we've supported 14 artists, 300 applications, 14 participants accepted. Of those 14, more than 7 are SCA alumni. That demonstrates the excellence of this program. And I'm going to name them because SCA is filling our collections, it's filling our state galleries, it's filling our Kunsthalles, it's filling our festivals, it's driving our market, and it is driving a creatively ambitious Australia. So those artists are Hussein Gami, Nell, Kelly Doley, Nick Dory, Claire Millage in the Favette last night, and Tim Silver. That's SCA. I'm going to wrap up in a minute, but I will just say that SCA is the only, and you don't need to hear this, but this facility, this university needs to be reminded that SCA is the only art school in Australia with the scale of studio facilities that currently exist, and the infrastructure of Callum Park is crucial to this. Monash, Melbourne, VCA, none of these have this infrastructure, none of them have this space. This is excellence in play. Do not neglect the asset you have in front of you. You know, once a site of trauma, Callum Park has been transformed into something much more dynamic, energetic and enlivened by the custodial practices and the occupation of that space by the artists, students and faculty. We believe that, you know, the renewal and the energy of that facility that's been generated through the situation of that art school in that context is something that can't be undervalued, and we do not believe that sprinkling you like stardust amongst the fucking ill-gotten corners of random faculties throughout the art school is a legitimate answer to creating a bespoke, preeminent, leading institution for arts education at Sydney University. You are not fucking stardust. So, what do we need to do? We've got to show leadership, we've got to be resilient, we've got to be indefatigable, we've got to not forget what we're here to do. SCA leads through innovation, technology, and also the teaching of more vernacular forms of traditional practice. Last year, 1 million people attended cultural events in Australia, more people than attended sporting events. How can Sydney University turn their backs on quantitative and qualitative evidence produced by a range of research that demonstrates the arts are more popular than ever in Australia? How? I do not understand. How can they dismiss the arts ecology when it is thriving? And why should the university make a profit on you with their fucking tax when actually what they need to be believing in is the foundational principles of education, which is that you are here to lead through creating a space for innovative thinking, that you lead by leading with ideas, and you create a different way of thinking about the world in which we occupy. I will just say at the end, you know, we have to think about that Sydney University motto, and we have to reverse it. I say, let the stars, the artists, the faculty, the students, let the art schools stay, and you change your mind as Sydney University, because right now, I can't say that in Latin, but in every language, what I'm saying makes sense. Let SCA stay.